Today on Welcome Disruption, we're joined by Greg Gorgone, hospitality veteran, educator, and co-founder of Pineapple Academy. Greg's dedicated his career to rethinking how frontline teams are trained, how institutional knowledge is preserved, and how the next generation of staff, including the neurodiverse and intergenerational talent, can thrive in the senior living sector. Get ready for a conversation that challenges outdated industry models and paints a bold vision for the future of care and community. Greg, thank you so much for being here with us today.
It is such a pleasure to be here. I love talking to you. I think you have a great mission and service that you're providing to the senior living community.
Well, Greg, Pineapple Academy has been an absolute game changer as far as I'm concerned for how content's delivered to our staff. I know I've been beating the drum for a while of, do you at least offer your training in different languages? Like, let's start there.
Right.
You've taken the concept of just having a backup Spanish version of a CNA training booklet to a whole nother level.
Whole other level.
Share that more about that?
You know, it's funny, you know, coming into the software world from, the operations world and project management world, we really came into being at the perfect time because, AI is here now. And it's not that AI is going to replace, at this point, say a chef or a server or a caregiver, doing a demonstration like with an actual resident or, a pretend resident in as we call a talent on the video. But what it can do with the voiceovers and subtitles is remarkable. I mean, if you ever want to have a laugh, you can watch, Greg speaking Chinese in a video teaching you how to mop a floor, in a commercial kitchen. So yeah, I mean, I think at this point, we're somewhere in the 25 language range for subtitles and voiceovers. And I mean, we've shared this content with many different, speaking people, and they think it's great because it's visual and it has support. And so of that. So even if it's not 100% the dialect of that person listening, it still communicates. And just to share a funny, quirky thing for our Canadian friends. So we went into Quebec not too long ago. So we had French, but I was like, no, we need French Canadian. And like, no problem. So then we went to AI and there it is. So it's amazing what's out there that you can do with AI voiceovers and subtitles these days.
There is so much to unpack there, though, not just the fact that you guys are multilingual, but you're multisensory. I think that, October, we're at the end of, Autism and ADHD Awareness Month, and we're trying to talk about neurodivergent brains. And I think that what you're doing with having a visual option, an audio option, and then the person's ability to kinesthetically practice the skill.
That's right.
Incredible for retention.
It's absolutely amazing. And, I'm going to go ahead then and take what you just said and just expand on it just a little bit. So we had our first opportunity to work with a group in Portland, Oregon, with a chef that had designed a program to train young adults, like we're talking like 18 to 25, who are on the spectrum. And it's exactly what he did. So we had television screens around his little prep kitchen area where the instructions was going on for, this is all about food service. Mm-hmm. So there'd be a pineapple video first that he would show, and everybody had access to those videos at any time. And then he would demonstrate it in front of them, and then they would demonstrate it. So it was multi-layers. And he said the most amazing part of it is how often the kids would go back to watch the videos on their own as well. So it gave him that reference point to keep going back and seeing the same thing over and over. And, fast forward to today, our mutual friends at Run the Gamut in Boston, we're doing a similar program with them as well. And the champion there is just doing an incredible job in creating the curriculum for her community there in the Boston area. So this is an area where I have great interest because, to your point, it just goes to show you everybody can learn regardless of where you're at in life. And and what end of the spectrum you're at. I mean, I'm sure we're all on some sort of spectrum, right?
Absolutely.
I get it, right? So but it's nice to know, you know, that you can actually learn a skill by watching short form videos and having reinforcement with your community there to reinforce that. And you can actually have a career. You can actually be self-sufficient. You can learn, you can interact, create new communities. It's just a really nice thing.
I love that, you know, I think that YouTube has really done a great job of, you know, overall getting us into video content as consumers.
100%, yes.
As consumers, and we have to follow that trend when we're building anything for senior living, you know,
That's
whether
right.
it's training or resident programming, we have to meet them where they are with what they like.
That's right.
And, you know, video gives us such wonderful opportunities to implement, you know, new ideas in a way that other people can accept them. But even my business partner and she prefers the tutorial videos.
Yes.
I like the written instructions so I can jump around.
There you go.
So two people, two different brains, right?
That's exactly right.
And we have several clients who have implemented Montessori style programming. And, you know, Maria Montessori said, if the children can't learn the way we teach, then we have to teach the way they learn.
This is, you know, and that's beautiful that you said that, because this is what I say to operators, you know, and I'm talking, you know, I'm 64, so I'm just going to put that out there, and not because only to kind of talk about what's going on in the generations, but, you know, in the baby boomer generations, and let's just say the 55 and older right now, we have this preconceived idea on what education and training should be because that's how we experience it, or that's the way it was said. But it's like I say to my colleagues, you know, in the industry, all of us, like, look, this isn't about you anymore. This is about you understanding that you have to meet your new team members where they're at. And sorry, this little thing right here, you and I didn't grow up with this thing. And so we have no empathy. We don't have enough empathy or understanding to realize that this is how they grew up.
Right.
You know, my nephews, when they started at first grade, and this is in Southern California, they had to show up to work with an Apple laptop.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when I had my first laptop?
When?
Late 20s.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
I had a Toshiba laptop in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you about my educational arc and how I was taught to learn? You know, it's
Absolutely.
not what it is today. So we just have to adapt to that.
It's interesting too that for the first time we have 4 generational cohorts in one working environment.
That's right.
So even for marketing purposes, you know, looking at how do we do effective recruitment marketing,
yes,
we have to be really understanding of delivering things in a variety of ways that the right person can get the role. I love that Elise over at Run the Gamut is doing skill-based interviewing practices.
Yeah.
I think that if more operators realize that this person might be a fantastic chef, but really struggle with reading comprehension. But if you read it to them, they'd be just fine.
Right.
Right. I think that realizing that sometimes we might have fantastic performers that we could do a better job of capturing what they're doing and communicating it to others through training programs.
That's right.
You know, that sort of informal leadership where we see people shine. I know that for me, I grew up, you know, my mother was actually a UAW union member, but my brothers are all 3 in the trades. Yeah. And so apprenticeship was the way that we communicated. And let's be clear, when I watched my brother become a Mason, they talked about what they were doing, they showed you what they were doing, and then they let you do it.
Demonstrate back.
Absolutely. And so again, it's a multi-sensory experience.
Exactly.
I remember, for whatever reason, my senior year in anatomy and physiology, I could not grasp how the valves of the heart worked. I couldn't intellectualize it until we did an actual experiment and I got to touch the thing.
Right.
You know, and there are some people that just need one more click. And I did a sales training that a story was shared that just absolutely changed my life around training. And it was a salesperson who was really disappointed in a housekeeping lead who she had asked her to prep a room for a tour and it wasn't done.
Yeah.
Realizing this person had come from another environment and in terms of skilled care versus, you know, an IL level, and there was just some miscommunication. So that salesperson turned on her light bulb, went in and cleaned the room to her own standards.
That's right.
And then brought the person in and communicated what she did and what she would like done differently in the future. And from then on, they never had an issue.
It's perfect. So this is the thing that people don't understand. It's like, I've worked with many teams over the years in operations, and there's a very, very small percentage of those individuals who are what we call the negative defiant. They shouldn't be there. You need to set them free as soon as you can. I mean, it's just, they're not even worth having there, because the other 90% that are there, they want to do the right thing. And 9 times out of 10, it's not out of anything that they're trying to do to aggravate you or upset you or be a wrench in the machine. They just don't know, or they don't have the proper tools. I'll tell you, 2 quick stories to demonstrate this. I took over an account once. It was a distressed account in a hospital, food service director. And I went in and normally what I do when I go into a new account or a new experience, I stay quiet. I go around, I observe, I see where the gaps are, I see where the pain points are. And then slowly I start engaging with the staff and like getting them to come up with solutions and ideas. And then, over time, and I'm about after a month, I always have a sit down with the entire team and I go over Greg's do's and don'ts. Meaning, and it's about setting expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And as a leader, you have to let people know what you expect. But anyway, back to the story. So I'm in this account in just 2 days. And the second day, I noticed the floor has not been swept. And I'm like, I see a crew over there, a utility crew. And they're all working. It's not like they're sitting around or out in the loading dock smoking cigarettes or something. And I'm like, so what's going on here? I'm wondering. So I saw the guys who were in a break or whatever and huddling together. So I just kind of casually, I said, hey guys, let me ask something. What do we need to do around here just to get the floor cleaner? What do you think we could do to improve the cleanliness of the floor? And suddenly the guy looks at me and goes, well, it'd be nice if we had some brooms and dustpans. We told the last manager a while ago that I didn't have any. I go, well, thank you for letting me know. And I went to the chef, and because we had, I think your US Foods was our distributor. And I said, I want to see brooms and dustpans delivered tomorrow morning with our food order. And they were, and that was the end of that. So it goes to show you, it's like, you can't assume anything. It's like, if you see a problem and if you immediately think, oh, Sally's just not with the program. Well, maybe Sally is having a hard day. Maybe Sally doesn't have the tools to do what you want her to do. Maybe Sally doesn't know what the brand standard is. I mean, it's a million things. So this lack of knowledge transfer is so unbelievable sometimes. And my other story that relates to this is Commonwealth Senior Living, a great customer of ours. And so my business partner 2 years ago went to one of their summits, and one of the utility workers who spoke Spanish in his native language came up to him almost in tears, going, "Your videos have changed everything for us." He says, because not only I can't read English, but frankly, I'm kind of illiterate in my own language, but I can watch and see, and now I know what to do. So that goes back to your multisensory learning experience.
Well, and one of the things that I've always said is that if you are testing your employees in English, you're training them in English and testing them in English, all you're testing them on is their ability to understand English, not their functional skills within the role.
That's exactly right.
How much more successful, I've said this for so long, and I love that that's what Pineapple Academy does, is how much more successful could people be if we gave them the tools that they needed. And to your point, the quote that just kept circling my brain was, when you know better, you do better.
That's right.
Maya Angelou, my mom always said, when people know better, they do better.
Right.
And that's kind of the root of the salesperson story. That's the root of the broom story. But do you know what my guess was in my mind when you were telling that?
Okay.
I said, I wonder whose checklist it's not on. Because again, if it's missing from the checklist.
That's right.
Or environmental services thinks the kitchen's responsible, the kitchen thinks environmental services is responsible.
That's right.
That communication, multidisciplinary communication,
That's right.
is a big part of what we often find to be the quick,
Right.
Solution. When we do our listening tour, which is what we're describing, I often circle into the kitchen, and if I don't hear music, and if I don't hear, communication, if I hear a silent kitchen, I'm concerned.
That's exactly right.
There's a vibe missing here.
I can't tell you how many. I've literally, I can't even tell you how many kitchens I've been in. I'd say it's north of 1,000. I mean, easily, and over the years, and so I can't tell you how many kitchens I've been in, and it's like a morgue in there, and I'm like, why is it so quiet here? Oh, the boss doesn't like music. So as soon as I hear that, I go, well, you really don't understand the mind of a cook or a utility worker.
Or the culture that you need to create a cohesive team.
Right. Now, if the chatter you hear is not necessarily work related and is distracting to the work that has to get done, that's one issue that we have to dive into. But if you hear chatter of good camaraderie and hey John, hey Sally, what's going on? And they're got their head down working, but they're still talking about the ball game last night. That's totally cool to me. I mean, we can walk and chew gum, many of us, and it's okay to slice and dice and having a conversation as long as you're being productive. So yeah, I think managers today are, let's talk about senior living, because obviously this is intended for this audience. So there's something that over the years that I'm very much aware of. So I'm from the hospitality industry. I went to Johnson & Wales. I did the whole thing. I went hotels. I went food and beverage management. I was rooms division management. I became a general manager eventually. I've done hotel and food service development projects. I've had a very blessed career, and I feel very fortunate in all the experience I've got to have. But when you get into senior living, what you begin to realize, and it took me a little while to understand this, is often you have an executive director who are absolutely overwhelmed with work to do and need to do things. Their guiding light is some certificate that they have to have in order to be in that position. And that curriculum does not include hospitality or food service training.
It also often doesn't include anything specifically related to people and culture development.
And there you go.
Not everyone has to be a student, but not everyone is a teacher.
No. And so there's no disrespect here. I'm just pointing out something that we need to be aware of. So, because the success of a building or an operation always boils down to one individual. It's the person at the top of that thing that sets the tone. So if you have an executive director or a senior leader in a multi-unit operation who has no hospitality background or no real understanding of how food service works or support services, let's keep it at support services, then what happens is the leadership in those departments are often there because they're there the longest. Or, they graduated from high school, and, I keep picking on Sally. I like Sally. I'm nothing against Sally. But, she started out as a pot washer. And here she is 5 years later, and she's the kitchen manager or the dining director because she's been there the longest. Well, God love her.
By default, if you will.
Yeah, and she's there every day. She's never late. She's never not there, and she will do anything to take care of the residents. And God love her that she's there, and thankful she is. But the problem with Sally is that Sally doesn't have anybody to mentor her into her job. Sally doesn't know what she doesn't know. Sally never worked in food service or in a hotel anywhere else. Not that the answers are all there, just to be clear, but you have to have. These jobs have skills. There's a professionalism about support services, and when you in these roles, particularly when you're talking about commercial and non-commercial food service. And so if you don't have somebody giving you that information and you're learning it, and by the way, and nothing against my certified dietary manager friends that are out there, but again, I've seen that curriculum. I've been a CDM before, and guess what? There's nothing in there that tells me how to make a meatloaf and serve it to the resident, or how to manage my kitchen.
Right, or how to support an employee who's struggling with a loved one with a severe illness, or
Exactly.
how to address a skill gap that could be overcome should a different training model be available.
That's exactly right.
A lot of those, the functional skills do not always transfer into leadership roles. And even if they can catch up on the tech side and run the reports and, you know, meet the numbers, they may not be meeting the people where they are, which is ultimately, and you and I both know, going to affect the experience the residents have. We started our conversation talking about how AI is an incredible, powerful tool, and it is. But I heard recently in a meeting that at Smash, the topic of discussion was AI, or the topic of the presentations were AI, but the topic of discussion kept coming back to experience.
Right.
And we have EQ Matters, which is our training. Yeah. We have EQ Matters, which is our emotional intelligence training that we present. And then we also have Experience Matters, which is that kind of 360 listening to our analysis of how are we doing? And the reason that I mention that is because if the kitchen doesn't have a vibe and the leader's not meeting the staff where they need to be, the experience to the resident is less luxurious or less enjoyable. Now, what that translates to is an operational problem where resident referral rates go down. Google review scores go down. There are outside metrics that can tell me how a kitchen's doing before we ever get there.
100%. And I tell you where it actually starts, and in many cases, is with residence council. It could be as simple as that. I mean, I've sat in many resident council meetings, and you know, obviously they're talking about food service, and so it's like you can just sit in on that meeting, you know, and hear what the chatter is.
Yeah, or at least capture it and bring it back to the team and have a productive conversation of, this is what we heard. We can't fix X, Y, and Z until we can't put the ice cream machine back online until next quarter, but we can add sorbet to the menu. I'm being totally facetious, but
I know exactly what
you're tracking with me.
That's right. Totally.
So experience design really, to me, is predicated on how well trained every aspect of the community is, from the care staff to the front of the house to the you know, food services team and environmental services teams.
That's right. Yeah. Just so you know, like, this company got established because I had done a project, and my now business partner, Tucker, he was working for the same client, and he was doing different things in this project, but our job was to build out a brand new kitchen and dining room in a senior living community in Jefferson City, Missouri. And I was doing all the food service planning and the kitchen layouts, and I had a team. We did all the menu planning, all the trainings, and when it went to the go live, like, I was there with a team of chefs, you know, for like almost a week, training everybody on how to use the equipment and get them all grooved in. And then a year later, we go back, and Tucker and I walk in the kitchen, and it's like, oh my gosh, what has happened? Well, what's happened is this thing called turnover. And so there's no transfer of knowledge now, right? So the director that was there, she was gone. Most of the cooks were gone, and there was new players there. They have no idea what this equipment is. They no idea how to take care of it, how to use it, or do anything. And so it really, that was kind of that aha moment for me, because I knew how much money has been spent on that project. And, you know, and I was like, wow, if I was the owner, I would not be happy about this. But again, back to that point, what did the owner really even know about how to go in and train food service?
And sometimes the owner, in the last few years, sometimes the owner's changed too, which means all of this changing.
Right. Oh, and God love you, if a real estate investment group or a PE owns you, they have no idea what's going on. No. And that's another problem, which we won't get into today. But so this idea that we either don't have time to train people, or it's just a natural occurrence that people are going to turn over. We have to spend more money all the time. it is false information. It's laziness as far as I'm concerned. If you think having turnover,
I think that's the word,
it is unsustainable.
It is
absolutely
unsustainable to have an onboarding process that doesn't offer continuity into the first 60, 90, 6 months. It is unsustainable to have one printed binder and expect that to inform everyone across the entire department.
Right.
I think that it's unsustainable to have people last man standing leaders who don't have the skill sets and tools that they need to enhance those skill sets, if that's possible, because of overarchingly an unsustainable training design.
Right. Exactly right. And everyone probably listening to this knows what the concept of QAPI is, but just because you got to a point where your numbers looking good, you have great employee satisfaction, great resident satisfaction, and your budget's good, and leadership is happy, ownership is happy, guess what? It's not over. The journey never stops, because people's likes and dislikes change, equipment changes, food products change in the market, trends change. And as an operator, how are you going to stay on top of all that? It's like, you think you're going to go to every single conference or every single trade magazine every month to stay on top of? You're not. I mean, that's also unsustainable. That is unsustainable. But what you can do is have the right training partners, in the right consultants, in the right vendors that give you the information, that work with you as part of your team, as your management team that's not seen, but they're there. I mean,
that fractional
take advantage of them. Exactly. And so, they want your business. So, it's not just about how many boxes landed on your website. It's about, hey, what can you do for me to teach me how to do better? How do I stay on top of everything that's going on right now?
If you're on top of your game.
And if you're on top of
your game, how do I stay on top of my game?
That's right.
As you said, it's not going to stay that way. I love a challenge. So oftentimes we're coming in and there's some couple of areas that from our consulting side that we bring in support. It's often a phone call around dining. I know that it's been helpful to really look at the community as individual kind of department, treating the departments as though they were their own entities.
That's right.
And finding that 360 view that allows them to see how their metrics impact one another.
That's right.
And, when we talk about sustainability, that's what we're designing for. Unfortunately, I get in trouble for saying I love working myself out of a job. But I know that when you come in and you see a community really struggling, you put everything you've got into it. And it's almost like Nanny McPhee. When you need me but don't want me, I have to stay. But when you want me but don't need me, I must go because there's someone else who needs me.
Yeah.
And setting up the programs that allow them to be sustainable so that when you come back a year later, they're maintaining or improving.
Well, and to that point, to another audience that might be listening to this, and including yourself, we have these programs now, partner programs and content creator programs. So there's absolutely no reason why virtual you or digital you isn't there all the time. It's like, so if there's some knowledge transfer that you're doing to create a project, my argument to our consultant friends and other vendor friends that are out there is, hey, let's video document what you did. And then that's your leave behind. And oh, by the way, you continue to make money on that because we do a revenue share with you every time they watch your videos. So you're always there front of mind.
You're always on as the consultant.
You're always there, right? So whether you're there physically or not, you're there because your program has been video documented, the training has been documented, and that knowledge transfer is available anytime. So if the team that you work with has turned over, or there's a leadership change, or they need additional stuff, guess what? We're just going to shoot some more videos and plug it into that program, and off you go. And so
that continuity. And I think continuity and sustainability really are two of the pillars that I see Pineapple Academy supporting the industry. We were introduced by Leslie Fuller, and
that's right.
At Adage Marketing Group, we worked with her when she was just getting, going with an inspired senior care. And I would describe it as a sustainable dementia care training program for your staff that you can integrate into your culture. And I'm always looking for those habituations. How can we make this a standard operating procedure without calling it a standard operating procedure?
Exactly.
How can we make this a consistent topic of discussion?
Right.
Rather than waiting for an in-service.
Right.
Right. So I think that Pineapple Academy offers not just the multilingual, not just the multisensory, but the ability to offer continuity in a sustainable way.
That's right. You know, one of the terms that we started using this year, we were using culture a lot, and because that's sort of like a you know, people, oh, culture, you know, blah, blah. We actually use the word now community, building community, because at the end of the day, in the business that we support, there's multiple communities that are impacted by the work that we do with our customers. So you've got the leadership, you have the frontline staff, but then you also have the community, the folks that they're supporting. And so it's a circular thing. It is a community in every sense of the word. And so all of us, meaning whether you're in food service or nursing or administration or whatever it is that you do to support the operation, you're part of that community. If you're a vendor, all that. And so why not, let's corral all this incredible knowledge that everybody has and get it into ways to deliver this content from the ED, you know, all the way down to the dishwasher, so that everybody is hearing and seeing and feeling the same thing, and feel being seen and feel like, you know, they're being supported so they can do their roles, so that the holistic aspect of that community just shines.
Absolutely. And I think getting people to realize that they are part of a greater whole.
Yes.
The work that they do directly impacts someone else.
That's right.
If I could recommend a book, which I typically do, Donella Meadows' book on systems thinking. Understanding that when we pull a lever over here, it's going to turn a knob over there.
That's right.
And to my earlier point, when we talk about how is our dining experience, what's our Google reviews, what's our resident referral rate,
right?
What's our resident complaint rate? You know, we may look at one thing more than another. How often are we circling back to the resident council just to get feedback? When was the last time your marketing agency launched an internal survey for you?
Yeah.
Find out how everyone's feeling about things, right?
This brings up a really good point. I'm going to now ask you a question as a professional marketer. How often in senior living does the marketing department celebrate food service as their one of the top things that residents want to hear about and have pride in to talk to prospective residents about?
Well, so at Adage Marketing Group, we are the story keepers. So I'm going to give you some stories to answer that question. I can tell you that more than they would ever probably realize, the marketing and sales teams are dependent upon dining services.
Yes.
And specifically the dining experience at the community. When that's going well, then our teams look forward to inviting people in to come for lunch. You know, I hope my food services is so supportive that when we have a 3-year anniversary, which I did with one of my clients, they put together 3 special soup mixes that then marketing could put a bow on. And that was our giveaway for everyone who came to that 3-year anniversary event. There should be a partnership.
That's
Every community should have a signature item that is given to people when they visit. If DoubleTree can do a cookie, so
there you go. Great example.
DoubleTree can do a cookie, so can we. And from a behavioral economics perspective, let me just sit with the DoubleTree cookie for a second. The reason that the DoubleTree cookie is really, really important has absolutely no place on a balance sheet. And it's frustrating to operations people to say, why are we investing so much into something that nobody says matters? Because we're typically not tracking that. But you cannot put a price on the feeling of a warm chocolate chip cookie when you've been in an airplane all day. You cannot put a price tag to the smell of baking bread when my nervous system is already upset and I'm looking at assisted living for my mom and I had to cross the psychological threshold of this doorway to begin with.
Yes.
You can't put a price on what that olfactory will do.
100%.
Even especially in dementia related communities or cognitive challenge programs, using smell as a part of the experience. I worked with, in a previous life, I worked with Charter, and they leveraged the ashibori, where, you know, they're using the warm scented towels before and after meals.
How lovely is that?
Let's look at whole people, right?
Yeah.
So how much does marketing depend on that? Listen, obviously I can tell you a marketing story about a program that they did in dining. If you can stand on that, you're going to have a much easier marketing and sales experience.
I 100% agree.
I've also been to communities who, while I was doing my meetings over the course of the last 20 years, who said, "Hey, let's go out to lunch." I'm like, "Why? I didn't get to try the food yet." I'm like, let's go out to lunch. I don't know how you're selling, right? And I know that it's not anything that they have control over. It's nothing that they can really do much about. But to understand the systems-based relationship between marketing, sales, and the dining experience is absolutely huge. But also, to our earlier discussion about department to department, having a relationship where I can say, I just did a tour. They're really hot. Their favorite thing is apple pie. Can you whip me something up?
Yeah.
Even the dumpling.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise they're going to use their P card and they're going to go to Costco and get it. And then it doesn't have the same effect.
That's right.
You know,
you're absolutely right.
Some magic that happens in the kitchen. It's the original alchemy, the original
there's no doubt about it. So I guess now that we're committed to, you and I are going to create a course for marketing around food service, the importance of food service. What do you think?
We are. I think everyone should stay tuned for a part 2 of this one, where we just go really deep into how marketing and hospitality go hand in hand.
No doubt about it. It really is an important thing. You know, I know we're chuckling a little bit, but I think it's part of why I laugh sometimes. Some of the stuff is so obvious. If you just understand human behavior, I mean, that's all we're talking about here is human behavior.
Yep.
You know, and it's not about can you make an apple pie or not. It's really just understanding what we all want and how we all want to be seen. We all want to feel valued. We all want to be acknowledged. And it's really not hard to do, you know. And if you're in a stressful environment right now, you have to ask yourself, why is this environment so stressful? And typically it's because there's silos, there's not communication, and the teamwork at the right levels of the organization are not connecting in a meaningful way, which then, you know, permeate throughout the organization.
It really does. It shifts the entire culture. But I think the reason you and I are such optimists is because we know that it can change.
Yeah.
That with the right lever pulled or the right knob twisted,
yeah,
that a non-functional team can be really functional, that a lackluster experience can become a luxurious experience. You know, something that felt generic can feel person-centered. So we know that that's possible because we've done it and we've seen it.
Exactly right.
Greg, thank you so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure. I can talk to you all the time. Yeah, love talking to you.
It's a great pleasure, and we will definitely schedule this for again.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.